Yep, there we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Franchise Hockey Manager 2 stream for this week. I'm Jeff Riddles, a producer of Franchise Hockey Manager, and we would normally have Adam, our community manager, here with us to do the broadcast with me, but he's got to cut out a little bit early tonight. So we've got a special guest star in with us, Twitch streamer, YouTuber, Sully on Tap. Welcome, Sully.
Thank you. It's to be here. I'm excited just to talk about the game and also try and chime in with any points or any points about the players. I'm not too familiar, so I'll definitely be watching, but I definitely look forward to the stream.
Yeah, and just to let everybody know where we are, normally we'd be doing the modern version of the Jets game that we've got going with Adam, but since he's not here this week, I'm just going to run. We did the historical version, the 19, it's the 80-81 Jets that we played last week. We're going to do that again this week. Kind of ended on an interesting note because we were amazingly enough, just able to sneak into the playoffs. The real Jets finished this year with about, I think it was 32 points, and we're more than double that. The downside to making the playoffs is, and I was wrong about this last week, I thought this 80-81 had the conference playoff matchups. It didn't. It was the old 1 versus 16 seeding. So unfortunately, we get the Canadians in the first round, and the Canadians had themselves a pretty good year. 111 points, 51, 20, and 9, and scary goal differential. Just have a quick look at them before we get into the game. It's actually fairly similar to what they had historically. The only differences are they didn't really have the injuries they ran into this year. With I think this was the year that Guy Lafleur was in a bad car accident. Didn't happen this time. He finished with 135 points. Bob Gainey, they've got playing a bit more of an offensive role. Funny thing here, they've actually got Lafleur on the left wing instead of the right, like he normally would be. But they've got a ridiculous defense. Larry Robinson, multiple Norris winner. Rod Langway, multiple Norris winner. Guy Lapointe, who I don't think he ever won the Norris, but All-Star several times. Brian Engblom, it's just a ridiculously good defense. The one big change they've got is in goal. Don Beaupre, who in real life was a rookie with Minnesota this year. They took him in the draft in the past offseason, started him right away, and he's actually, in game terms, the ratings aren't that fantastic, but he's had a pretty good year. And Denny Herron, the starter, is the backup right now, so I'm not terribly optimistic. I think this is a best out of 5 series. If we go 3, well, we can. Yeah, we'll have to go at least 3. But I'm not really expecting much more than that. So,
How? Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I know when I was watching the last stream, I think you played the Canadians, and then right after, you made a trade for the backup goalie because I think Jeff pointed out there was this backup
Yeah,
goaltender
Adam said there
he
was
traded for.
Dan Bouchard to the Flames. He was in real life he got traded to Quebec. I think it was this year and was started for them for a few years. And we needed a backup. He's actually probably a little too good to be a backup, but we got a decent deal on him anyhow. So he had a really great start for us and then tailed off a little bit. I'm just looking at him in the game right now. He finished with a goals against average just under 4 for us, which in modern terms is awful, but in 1981 that's not too bad. But our
And I
starters,
know.
go ahead.
Just in that game against the Canadians, I know when I was watching it, you guys played them fairly well, but I think in the third period they tacked on 2 more, and it was like a 5-1 game.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was right near the start of the year. How'd that wind up? I'm looking up. Yeah, 5-1 final score.
Yeah.
So I'm not terribly optimistic that this is going to be any better than that, but who knows? Let's see what we can do. We got one guy out, Scott Campbell, our assistant captain, who's a pretty good defenseman, has a fractured thumb, but other than that, we're pretty much intact. Just looking at the lines, for some reason the AI really wants to put Doug Smale on the first line, which I don't want. I'm going to put Lukowicz up there. Our depth isn't too bad especially relative to what the real Jets were this year, but Montreal is just going to be scary good. So, and the big thing about this team that's different from real life. We've actually got Dave Babbage, who was the Jets' real first rounder this year. We got him in the draft, but at the very end of the draft, when we had traded for somebody else's first round pick, our higher selection was Paul Coffey, which should make for a really fantastic defensive pair in a couple of years. But they're still fairly young right now, though Babbage
Hmm.
has come along pretty well. He's actually, I think, gone from 2.5 stars to 3.5 stars just over the course of this season. So that's a huge jump for him. Coffey's come along. So if we get some really big games out of those two and some decent goaltending, might be able to steal one, maybe two. Any more than that would be probably too much to hope for. But then again, in our modern Jets game, the 2006, or I think it was the 2018 Jets were first in the league and we got upset in the first round. So maybe we get a little payback for that right here.
And it
So,
seems like you have your defense has good potential too, especially on the left side. And for being 19, I feel like if they these are good games for them to develop their skills and progress and get that.
yep, I mean, that's a cornerstone of the whole team going forward there. Babbitt should be in the league for another I think he finished up with Vancouver in the late 90s, so 17, 18 years, and Coffee likewise too. So if we keep this game going for a while, those guys should be with us for a good long time. I'm just going to advance this forward a bit, and we got Montreal today, and we're on the road. So I will fire this up. We got Beaupre against Brodeur starting, and you can see their lineup. It's a little different from what they really would have done. They've moved Steve Shutt, who is historically their big all-star winger. He's on the left side, and oh, it's kind of wacky. They've got Bob Gainey on the fourth line. So this should be interesting. And Jorgen Pedersen, who's actually we signed him as a free agent in the offseason and dumped him to get a draft pick out of Montreal. So hopefully that doesn't turn around and bite us too badly. He doesn't look like he's going to get a lot of playing time. I will and if you haven't played the game before, you can see we've got on the controls. You can watch the entire play-by-play, which would take us way too long to go through. Play-by-play just whenever the puck enters the opposing, or when we're carrying the puck and it enters the offensive zone, or I think it actually goes both ways. I never play that mode, so not sure. All the shots, an expanded version of the action, which tends to show you the interesting things. Good, a lot of the shots, some penalties, and all the goals, of course. Condensed, which is a slightly more condensed version of that, and the scoring summary, which just shows you the goals, which is a little anticlimactic because whenever you see play-by-play pop up on the screen, you know a goal's coming. So I will go one setting down from that, switch it to action condensed, and I will leave the settings on very fast, I think. And let's fire that up. And hope we don't get blown out too badly. So
Hopefully, it'd
far,
be
so
nice to steal game one.
yeah, especially at home in Montreal in the Forum. And already they're up 3-0 on shots. So it'd be nice if we got a little bit of offense here. Yeah, we got a Montreal penalty, so maybe we can get something going here. That'd be nice. At least we caught up a little bit on shots, a couple of them.
Have you done anything with the tactics or the game plan for the team, or have you just let
Tactics is the
the
one thing
AI?
I've got set to the computer right now. I'm letting the computer do that. I'm doing the lines myself, although I think I'm taking mostly the AI's advice on that. But that's something I want to get into a little bit, probably more in a future season, so I can show you the things you can do with individual tactics. But right now, I'm letting the AI handle most of that. But halfway through the first, and we are still even, nothing, nothing. Although Montreal seems to be getting a lot of chances, and see, naturally, as soon as I say that, Pierre Mondu scores. We're down 1-0.
Now I'm reading the description right now. Apparently, it was from a dump and chase behind the net,
And
and then the
yeah, and actually,
rebound
it looks
kicked
like we
out.
just tied her up though. Doug Smale tips one in. Was I think we actually got signed Smale as a free agent this year. He was a Jet in real life for quite a few years, but I don't think he was actually playing with the team at this point. So we brought him in a little bit early, and pays off. So let's see if we can do something here. Well, every time I start to talk about how it's looking okay for us, Montreal seems to run up a bunch of shots. So should probably just shut up about that. And so, I mean, you can see just looking at the game stats, they're dominating us pretty badly in just about every category. 12-5 on shots, twice as many shots blocked. We're actually winning on faceoffs, 15-8. That's not too bad. And they had some decent faceoff guys, if I'm remembering right. Doug Jarvis, Doug Risebrough.
Yeah, and I may be behind, but 15-8 with how many stoppages there's been with penalties and goals isn't too bad too.
Yep, there's 14. I mean, I think we're actually going to get out of this even down to 1 minute left, and there we go, 14. Wow, we had a little surge at the end there too. We wound up shots for I think 14-8 for a while, and then we jumped up suddenly to finish the period 14-13 on shots. So that's about as good as I could possibly have hoped for. I'm just going to let the second period keep rolling with what we're doing since we're this close. So far, so good.
Yeah, and hopefully if Montreal continues to give you some power plays, you can get one through.
Yeah, I think that's might be the only way we can get anything, getting at least one game off them. And there we go, another Montreal. So Montreal a little undisciplined here. Bob Gainey took one, and that's their best penalty killer off too. And now we got a 5-on-3 because Pierre LaRouche went off. Come on, boys, do sign. Naturally, we get through the whole thing, and I don't think we even had one shot on the whole 5-on-3. So much for that.
Well, I think it's interesting. We talked about stealing a game. I think if this is it, this is the game to steal with all the chances in the power plays, and hopefully something gets clicking for Winnipeg.
Yeah, we're actually up 17-15 on shots now. Montreal's come off the rails pretty badly in the last, the end of the first and this first part of the second. Although they got a power play right now. I know you're actually a few seconds behind us, so I'm trying to not trying to get too far ahead of you here, but this is surprisingly good. And Fleur misses a net, so we're still ahead on shots. Or even on shots after the power play, and now they're ahead. And I'll tell you, at the end of this period, we're halfway through the game right now, but at the end of this period, I'll take a look at the box score and we'll see if anybody's doing particularly bad or good. If you want to juggle a lineup around a little bit, but
Okay.
the way it's going right now, I can't complain at all about this result.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you're still maintaining that space up by +10 in the face-off dot too.
Yeah, and believe it or not, it looks like we got a couple of rebounds off Don Beaupre there, and Matty Hagman just makes it 2-1 for us. Wow. So.
And it's interesting that on a rebound, and I think it was finally on the power play that it.
Got to check. No, it looks like it was even strength. I think. I'll have a look in the summary, but because we must have had a ton of power play. Or it's 7 power plays, and we're not even at the end of the second yet. So
Yeah.
okay, the refs are helping us out slightly, but I'll take it. We're up 30-20 on faceoffs, which is nice. 24-19 on shots. This is way more than I'd hoped for.
It'll be interesting, regardless of the outcome, game 2, if Montreal can stay out of the box.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't think they don't really have anybody who's particularly tough on the team, as far as I can remember. Mario Tremblay was, fairly rugged, but I mean, we've got Jimmy Mann in our lineup, who finished the season with, I think it was 370 penalty minutes this year. And they don't really have a full-blown goon like that. And that is the end of the second. We are up 2-1 somehow. I'm going to pop into the box score for a second and see what's going on here. Shots were up. Montreal's taken a ridiculous number of penalties. They're out hitting us, not surprisingly, I guess. Takeaways, not too many on either side, and we're up 31-21 on faceoffs.
And it says 1 of 7 on the power play, so I don't know which goal it was, but it seemed like finally
you're right. You're right. It was the Hagman goal, the one we got to go ahead 2-1.
So I guess it came back to bite Montreal after all, at least with all those power plays. I mean, I think it was bound to happen. When you get 8 chances, or
Yep.
almost one of them goes in.
Yeah, so the coach probably isn't too thrilled with him right now. It would be an interesting between period speech. But yeah, I don't see anybody playing particularly badly for us. A couple of the young guy, Tim Waters, fairly young defenseman, is at the low end of the game rating, and Jimmy Mann hasn't done much other than take penalties, so he's down there too. Montreal just sort of a lot of mediocrity going on, and Richard Brodeur, 18 out of 19 stopped for us so far, so the goalie's definitely helping us out. So good playoff performance so far. And I'm going to take a quick look at our lines. I really don't want to mess with it with us doing this well.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
Yeah. Okay. So back to the third, and cross your fingers here. Let's see if we can hang on to this. Starting her up. Oh no! Don't score right off the beginning like this. And of all the people, Gilles Lupien gets the game tying goal for Montreal. Lupien was he's 6'6" when nobody else in the league was taller than about 6'3". This huge, incredibly awkward guy, like Chara, only he wasn't any good. And I think he had maybe 3 goals in his career, and somehow he's the guy that ties the score up against us. So not
Wow.
terribly happy with that. And now that Montreal's back in our offense or our defensive zone.
And 7 seconds into the third period, too.
Yep. So I think we need them to take a few more penalties here. And now they're just throwing the puck around. We're not doing anything about it here. And Lafleur makes it 3-2. See, this is turning out a lot like that game at the start of the season where we hung in with them for 2 periods, and then things just fell apart in the third. So I think I am going, and 4-2 now. Bob Gainey scores. So let's just stop this mess for a second. And oh man, what can I do here?
I think the big thing for Montreal is they finally stopped taking penalties, and that seems to.
Yeah, that's
That's
pretty much done. And I think the AI has already switched my tactics to something that, because it knows it's got to even get those 2 goals back. I'm going to have to leave it like that. Going to push a couple of the young guys a little farther down the lineup, although it'll take a little while for the changes to. Oops, I did that wrong. Changes to take effect. I don't want Smail out there. Yeah, that's good. Okay, we'll get back to this. See if we can get back in it. Although I'm not terribly confident. 10 minutes left, and we're down by 2. We're still out shooting them though, for whatever that's worth. And now it's 5-2. Yeah, see, this is carbon copy of what happened at the beginning of the season. And it looks like the goalie just decided to pull, or AI coach just decided to pull Richard Brodeur, and Dan Bouchard's in. I think, wow, that's Brodeur must have
wow.
given up something like 3 goals on 5 or 6 shots to start that period. So the goaltending fell apart there. And Bob Gainey makes it 6-2 now. I was going to say maybe we need to make a goaltending change for the next game, but not if Bouchard's getting scored on the first shot he sees.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it really is exactly almost, if not identical to that game against Montreal during the regular season.
And that's one of the advantages Montreal's got. They've got such ridiculous depth in the lineup. They've still got fresh guys going into the third, and I'm seeing our guys wearing down a little bit. And now it's 7-2. Yet we're still ahead on shots somehow. But yeah, you're right. It looks like they haven't taken a single penalty or at least given up a power play in this period. And I think we've given up 2 or 3. Oh, there we go. They finally took one, and he takes some misconduct on top of that for good measure. But this is way out of reach for us.
And it's weird because if you look at the shot chart, I mean, they look almost the same, sort of. There's a couple. Montreal had a couple more shots that
Yeah,
were
we're
close to the net,
and we're scoring
but
for
it's
in close, and I
nothing.
think they've got some bad ones on it. Because look, I mean, that
Yeah.
all of this stuff here that's coming from the one from the point and three from like the
Mm-hmm.
top of the slot, and
Yep.
we give up a goal with 8 seconds left to make it 8-2. So we went into this period leading 2-1, and the game finishes 8-2. How's that for your all-time worst collapses? I'm going to get out of this mess, and we'll take a look at the box score as much as I don't want to. Lafleur winds up the first star, 4 points. Yeah, that whole first line wound up the first 3 stars. But look at that third period. Let me get down to it. We're up 2-1, and they get a goal 7 seconds in, 4 minutes in, seven
Yep.
minutes in, 9 minutes in, 10, 14, and 1952. The third is the last one. Just a
And
total collapse.
I don't know. It doesn't seem like with the shots that you were terribly outshot that period. I mean, I don't. It's tough to like really pinpoint one thing that led to this outside of Montreal stopped taking penalties. It seemed like.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the shot. Well, we were outshot 13-6 in the period, but still, that's no
Oh,
excuse for getting crushed that badly. Beaupre only stopped. I mean, they had. Let me just do the math in my head. 19 shots at the end of the second, so Berder let in 4 goals on 7 shots to begin the third period, and then Bouchard missed let in 3 on 6 shots. So just a train wreck. Lafleur winds up with 100 game rating, and we've probably had some guys slip down into the 40s. Yeah, Marsh. Oh boy, that's a guy that gave extra playing time to, and good old Barry Melrose with the mullet. The 40s. Okay, that is not at all impressive. So I will finish the day off. Might as well take a look around the league and just see what the other playoff matchups are. LA and Islanders. Islanders won the first game. No surprise there. They were, and this just so nobody gets misled. The seedings in the first column won't carry over to the second column. That'll get reseeded by the league standings, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's not like the Islanders
okay.
will be. The Canadians will be playing the first one. Bruins take one off the Whalers. Blues over Detroit. A little surprising to see Detroit in because they were still pretty bad at this point. It wasn't until they got Eiserman. I think that was 85, 84, 85 that they started to pick up. So they're a little ahead of schedule. Leafs naturally losing. And it looks like the only upset there was the Blackhawks over the Rangers in the first round. And I should mention the Sabres are the defending Cup champions.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, I think that's. I got to go back and double check to make sure. No, North Stars. North Stars. Minnesota won it last season, and they won their first game there against Calgary. And my Vancouver Canucks naturally losing to the Flyers in the first round. And actually, now that I think about it, I think we actually had if I'm remembering right, 80-81, we had the Flyer. It was either 80-81 or 79-80. We had the Flyers in the first round that year for in real life, and wound up losing it anyhow. And we got day off, another game against Montreal, but let's change the lineup around a little going into this one. Gonna pull Serge Baudouin out. Mark Plantery, who hasn't played a game for us all year, can go in. Scott Campbell is still injured, so I can't really do much about that. Jimmy Man, I mean, the Canadians aren't playing a goon at all, so I don't think there's any purpose to having him in the lineup for us. I will swing John Markell back into the lineup. Let's see what the AI wants to do with the lines here. For some reason, it's really in love with putting Doug Smale in the first line. I do not want that at all. And power plays too. I'm gonna Lukowicz should be the first line winger on all of those. I'm changing that around. Defensive pairs can stay as. I mean, our defense is super young. That's probably part of the problem. And getting some quality scoring chances in there. I'll put Berder back in as the starter because I don't like Bouchard did any better, and he's still got half a star on him in the ratings. Hmm. Yeah, I think
Yeah, it
that's
seems like judging from the abilities, just like from the glance I got, it seems like there's only so much wiggle room with the lineups in terms of like tweaking and
yeah. I mean, at this point in the Jets' history, we're a little ahead of schedule, but I mean, we pretty much started the team with nothing at the beginning of that last season, so the depth is really poor, and we're throwing the best guys out we've got, but they're just not good enough, especially relative to Montreal, who's got the probably by far the deepest lineup in the league. So let's move along to game two and see if we can make this a little less embarrassing.
and
Start.
I think after the eight period or eight goals in the I think the I think going into this now it's just like let's not give up eight goals and make it competitive. Maybe
Yeah,
still steal a game. I think the
yeah. I mean,
potential's
we're going to
there
get
to
at least
steal
one
one.
game at home in Winnipeg because we got it's best out of five, and we'll be after this one we should be headed back home to Winnipeg, which would be I guess the first playoff game in the NHL Jets history. So hopefully we don't mess that up too badly. And it looks like we're starting okay so far, but I shouldn't have said that because it looks like yeah. See, as soon as I open my mouth, Pierre Leroux scores and it's 1-0 Montreal. Uncanny.
And I think it's the power play goal too. Is it?
Uh, yeah, it looks like they. Oh no, they just went over onto the power play. So unless the stats column is lag, well, no, okay, so yeah, now they get a an actual power play goal. So the first one, oh no, that, oh no, you're right. It was just taking a second to update. They've had two power plays in the first 7 minutes of the game, and they're up 2-0 already. There we go. We got one back at least. Willie Lindstrom gets a goal for us, so 2-1.
Well, I like the resiliency. Get a goal right back, especially after giving up two power play goals. It
Yeah,
seems
it's
like.
nice to know they're not quitting, but
Yeah.
it's, I could have done without the two right at the start like that.
Holding our breath till that third period. We just want to see if that third period will be a repeat
Yeah,
of
well,
game
maybe
one,
the
or
trick is
hopefully
we
we
got to go
can.
into the third period losing, and then maybe we'll pick it up
Yeah.
then. And I swear there is no catch-up code in this game.
And it seems like too. I don't know how far behind. I think you said like 10 seconds for me, but the face-offs are 5-5 still. So
Yeah, 6 to
I mean, it
5. It's
seems
just
like
looks like Montreal just got another one on us. So
it's interesting this game now. It seems like that the penalty we're taking the penalties now this game as opposed to last game it was Montreal.
yeah, that's three power plays and three power play goals for them in the first period, and we haven't had a single one yet. So you can see that's oh, we got a breakaway. Ron Wilson and 3-2. Oh, bouncing back. Ron Wilson, ex-Canadians.
So you said for the action condensed it goes into the play by play when the offensive zone.
No, there's one setting that will go into the play-by-play whenever the puck crosses. I can't remember exactly how Sebastian did it, but I think it's whenever it crosses the blue line,
Okay.
going forward, not going backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Action expanded will give you basically anything that's of relatively interesting penalties, injuries, most of the shots, and some of the shots that go wide. I can't remember what the exact distinction between
Okay.
that and condensed is, but condensed cuts it down a little bit more, and then you got scoring summary, which the play-by-play only pops up when somebody's about to get a goal, which gets you through the game pretty quickly, but can be a little anticlimactic, especially if the game's out of reach and you know that every time the play-by-play pops up, it's probably going to be another goal against you. But 4-2, we're down 4-2 going into the second period, And looking at the glass half full scenario where we let in almost half as many goals as we did at the in the previous period, the third of that game. And yeah, every single one of those is a power play goal. So I take the goon out of the lineup, and we still get killed on penalties. Figure that out. So hopefully
And
we
it,
smarten up a little bit this period. Go ahead.
no, it just shows the potency of Montreal's power play. 4 of 5. I mean, that's amazing.
Yep. Kind of helps when you got Guy Lafleur in there and a couple of few other Hall of Famers on the team. And it looks like Montreal went. Oh no, that's. Oh, no, we weren't down 5-on-3. We looked like we had a 5-on-3 for a second there, but it was only a 4-on-3. And yeah, we can't get away from these penalties. There goes another one. At Montreal, at least evens that up right away. Steve Shutt takes a penalty, and we actually had a 3-on-3 on there for a little while, I think.
I wonder. I saw Barry in there for. It took a 4 or a 5. I know I saw it said 3 something a little bit
Might have been a
earlier in his penalty.
Yeah, it might have been a dual minor. I'll check that when we get to the. I'll have a look at the box score at the end of this period. But we're still only 4-2, so could be worse, I guess. And as usual, I say could be worse, and it gets worse. 5-2.
Well, I was just about to say it seemed like the shots were a little bit low compared to the first game,
Yeah,
but
18-13, just a little past halfway through the second. And we're falling apart again. Mark Napier gets a hat trick for the Canadians, and is that 5-2? 6-2. And coach is leaving Brodeur in, but I bet you he gets a hook on the next goal. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be a next goal. 8-3 on the power plays for Montreal. I mean, we've got a decent group of defensemen, but it's still a really young bunch of guys. And this is, an all-time great offense we're up against. In real 80-81, Montreal was a little bit past their prime, but not that far. If they hadn't
mm,
had some injuries, they would have been right in there for the cup. But in this game, they haven't had the injuries. They've actually picked up a little more depth than they had, and they haven't made a couple of the. I think there's a couple of guys still there that they may have traded away by this point. Oh, we got a goal, 6-3. But yeah, this is a really, really good team. So I'm guessing it's going to wind up being, assuming we don't have a miraculous comeback, Montreal and the Islanders in the finals, which should
it's
be
like with
fairly entertaining. Hmm?
the young defense that Winnipeg has, and the forwards, at least on paper, uh, are most. It seemed like they were mostly 3 stars, and so I think
Yep.
that's the result.
We've even got one or two guys who are 2.5 stars on defense, and yeah, I'm just looking at the box score now. What? Oh yeah, we wanted to see what happened with that call on who was it? Melrose? Yeah, Melrose. No, that was
Yeah.
no Melrose. Wound up fighting with Larry Robinson, which
Oh, okay.
would not have ended well for Melrose, I don't think. uh, and the whole box score is fairly depressing. Well, we've actually got one guy who's, or a couple of guys who are +1, because they've got most of their goals in the power play. Lafleur's got 4 assists. He's just destroying us. And Brodeur 7 goals on 24 shots. That's pretty bad. But with the number of power plays they're getting, it's probably been some really good scoring chances. So I can't really complain too much about that. But I think I will give Dan Bouchard the game 3 start. I'll just let this play out. And it would be nice to steal at least one game back in Winnipeg.
Yeah, I think that's yeah. At this point, making the goal tending switch, get him some games and some experience because
Yeah.
he has a was it 3.5 or 4 star potential.
Nope, he's I think three-star potential. Bouchard, it was actually a little towards the end of his career at this point. I think he hung on in Quebec till was it about 84, if I remember right. I'd have to look it up. But he had been the Atlanta starter for most of the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And they moved to Calgary, and I think they traded him to Quebec right at the start of this season in real life. But he hung on with Calgary a little bit longer in the game until we got him. And then Brodeur is the one he's got. I think when we got him, he only had three-star potential, and he can occasionally they can occasionally develop just slightly beyond what they're expected to do, and that's what happened in Brodeur's case. So we got up to 3.5 stars, and it looks like the coaches put Bouchard in here because it's 8-3 now, and this is we played two games so far and given up 16 goals. So not exactly the tight defensive game you'd want to see in the playoffs.
I'll be interested to see game three, and hopefully, it seems like each game there's been something that's at the eight goal third period, or the six goal third period, and then the
7 goal actually, yeah, 7.
yes, sorry,
And then the
and
the three penalties right off the start, or three or
mhm.
four power play goals in the start of this game. Something has just gone horribly wrong both times.
Yeah, and the face-offs are still close or even. It's at least on my screen it says 36-35 in favor of Winnipeg. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
changed.
but still that in mind. Yeah, it's a one thing we're doing okay. And it's actually fairly impressive because I know Montreal should have decent face-off guys with this group. Oh, we got Ron. I think Ron Wilson's fairly good on face-offs, so that's probably some of it. And we're kind of hanging in here in the third. I think we've only given up one
Hmm.
goal to versus 7 through the first two. So we may get out of this with some tiny shred of dignity intact, but still getting outscored 16-5 in the first two games doesn't leave me a lot of hope for game three. And there we go. That's final 8-3 Montreal in game two. And we are very close to going out. Gonna take a quick look through the summary. See again, Tim Waters. I think I may have to sit him down. Young guy who's had two really bad games, but the forwards, Bill Clement, who's been going downhill since we picked him up in a trade at the end of or early last season. He had a really good year for us, but this year he's tailed off pretty badly, and it looks like he's just about done. I think he's a free agent at the end of the year. Other than that, we had some decent games out of some guys. First line looks like it did okay. And no, Bouchard didn't even have a shot on him in the last 13 minutes he played, so we shut him down at the end for
Hmm.
whatever that's worth. Not very much. And we'll end that. I'll finish one day, and we have 2 days off there? Oh no, that was just one day off. So we're just on the day of the next game. I'm going to take a quick look at how the other series are turning out, and yeah, everything's going to form so far. It's the right hand column will be the favorites in each one. The only team that's had one upset in 16 games so far. Not the most exciting playoff year, but I got to figure out what I'm going to do here with this defense. Boy.
And you said for the playoffs, the right column is the favorite to win the series.
Yeah, that's. I'm just saying it's. In this case, it's just the seating because you see when I go down there, you can
Oh,
see the
okay.
seating: Canadians 1, Islanders 2, Bruins 3, etc., etc. And the way the
Okay.
playoff format was this year, when we get out of this round, it'll reseed again according to their regular season finish. So Montreal will be first, and in that
Oh,
first
okay.
block, and then the Islanders will be in the second one, and it won't be the two winners of this, the two that are on top right now, playing each other in the third round, or second round, because that wouldn't make a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Let me see. What can I do with this roster? Let's take Markel out and put Dave Hoyt in, who's the only guy that hasn't played so far. And Campbell, I think, is, yeah, still too injured to play. If we could stretch this out to game four, we might be able to get Campbell, one of our better defensemen, back, although I'm not sure if that's going to make a huge difference. And we will have Bouchard start game three. Hopefully that makes some kind of a difference. I'm going to juggle the defense around a little bit. Tim Waters can go down to the third unit, and I'm going to promote Melrose, put him on the second one. And I think that's all the changes I'm going to make. Let's see if this goes anywhere. Oops.
So if Campbell, if he manages to come back, would you put him as the third?
Depends on whether or not he's still got a little bit of an injury. He may come back and be still partly injured for another day or two. It looks like. So if he's in 100% shape, I'll probably put him on the second defensive pair, maybe even the first, because I could probably use a veteran there.
Okay.
And there we go. Winnipeg or Montreal at Winnipeg. We're down 2-0. Could be the end of our season, but let's hope not. And starting her up. It's the old Winnipeg Arena. This is actually where I saw my first NHL game in person. Adam's got some good stories about it too, but it's a terrible, terrible old arena. It had one of those overhangs where if you were sitting far enough up on the second deck, you couldn't see big sections of the ice. There were these big pillars that blocked limited vision, gave you limited vision if you were too far back. And I think the game that I saw there was Christmas of, I think it was actually been Christmas of this year. I was sitting about 3 rows from the top. And so I got both the overhang and parts of the pillar obstruction there. And Winnipeg gets the first goal. So I'm not sure. I didn't see how that happened. It wasn't a power play, but hey, maybe we'll get a game four. And we get two, and we're up 2-0. Matty Hagman with both goals.
Maybe we will extend this series. And news is that no penalties in the first couple of minutes. Maybe I spoke too soon, but
nope, still nothing yet. So we're playing disciplined. We're out shooting them. We're really killing them on the face-offs, 8-3 so far, and yeah, it looks like we really slowed it down there. Oh, okay, they're doing something on our end now. Let's hope this doesn't turn anything to anything. Not Lafleur again. And Bouchard knocks it out. So we're still up 2-0.
So when you were sitting 3 rows from the top, what were you able to see with the couple of the obstructions that were in your way?
Well, you could see the far side of the ice okay, and I can't remember. I don't think the pillar one was too much in our way because I think it was one to the goal to my right was I could see a little less of that corner because of it. Still wasn't the worst view I've ever had from an NHL game. I went to one when I was living in Florida we're 2-1 at the end of the first. So I'm just going to start this up again. I went to one of the games when Tampa was still playing out of the baseball stadium. Had a second bowl seat there, and the overhang was even worse there, and you were so far away from the game you couldn't tell who the players were. It was just way. It's like it'd be like going to one of the outdoor games now, only I think probably even a little bit worse than that because of the way. I think the stadium in Tampa is fairly steep, so we were super high, and it was crazy to look at because they had They were the far side of the ice above the stands and above the I guess it would have been the visiting team goal, I think, was all curtained off. And then there was this whole sort of entertainment play area for kids behind it. So you'd see a bunch of people out there, like sort of like watching the circus midway going on in the background of a game. And we're still up 2-1 halfway through the second, so just may be able to hang in here. Uh-oh, power play from Montreal. They're shooting and rebound. Another rebound. We turned over again and we keep giving it back to them. This is not good. Oh, we can't get this away from them at all. This is crazy. They're in a power play. Yeah, they're on a power play. That's why we're having so much trouble. They're just completely dominating us here in our end, and haven't been able to get a decent scoring chance out of it though. And,
Hopefully,
why do I even talk about this? As soon as I say it, they got a lucky bounce. It looked like it hit something in front, and Boucher Rouge gets credit for it, but it's 2-2 now. Uh, and they're out shoot after that run. They're out shooting us 24-13. What were you gonna say?
oh, it seemed like I was watching the play by play, and it seemed like they had the puck in there for a long time. I wonder how much time was left when they entered the zone with 57 to when that goal was scored. Because you're right, it seemed like they had the puck in there forever, and
Yeah.
Winnipeg couldn't get it out.
Let's see. It was the penalty was 11:38, and actually they got the goal about a minute into the penalty. So they basically got the puck in there fairly early, and just we couldn't do a thing. I think Coffey was on the ice, so that's not exactly the greatest defensive guy in the world to have out there. Our numbers don't look particularly awful. Hagman's doing great on the faceoffs, and Bouchard's having a nice game in goal, 23 saves on 25 shots. And you see, we've only had one power play the whole game. If we'd gotten the power plays that we got in the first game this time out, we'd probably be doing great right now.
And the shot differential isn't too bad. I mean, it's only a 12 shot
Yeah,
differential,
well,
but
25-13. At least we'll probably keep them under 40 shots this game. I think that might be the first time we did that. But other than that, I mean, we're out hitting them. We're beating them on face-offs. We're turning the puck over a little more than they are, though, which isn't great. Well, let's get back to the third period and see if we can get one more game out of this season at least.
I mean, the good news is this time around, hopefully, last time that we had the lead going into the third, we gave up that bad period. So this time it's tied, and hopefully we can at least grind out a goal.
And as soon as you said that, Guy Lafleur scores. So, see, I didn't even say anything this time, so this one wasn't my fault. And we're down 3-2, and the season is ticking down here. We got to get something back. I mean, we're playing much better in this game. We're not getting blown out at least, although I guess there's still 15 minutes left. That could change. And it appears maybe about to, because Montreal's got it in our end again, and now we're 4-2. So I think we can kiss this season goodbye. And hopefully we haven't. I don't think we've messed our draft pick up too badly by sneaking into the playoffs, because this is the old NHL where 16 teams out of 21 make it. And we'll still have I guess the sixth overall draft pick. Don't think 81 was a fantastic year for the draft, but we can hopefully get a decent forward out of it and keep improving. And it would be nice if we could get out of this with fewer than 8 goals against us.
And it seemed like for the series, it seemed like there was one period that really did Winnipeg in.
Yeah, that third period of the first game, 7 goals, that just broke us, I think. And 5-2 Montreal. So we might get one here.
Yeah,
No
Montreal
blame.
definitely seemed like they poured it on in the third. Now that they have, at least from what I've seen on my screen, 41 shots to 17. I don't know if it's changed.
43-17 now.
But I think all things considered, I mean, even though the score may say like for some of the game they played well, played with them, and I just think Montreal's too good offensively and defensively to
Yep,
where they can't overpower.
way too good. And that is the end of the game, 5-2. So we got out of game. We got out of a game without letting in 8 goals. But that is the end of the series for us, unless I'm mistaken about the Oops. See, I was saying this to you before the broadcast. I'd never accidentally knocked my window off, and I just did it. So there goes my streak in addition to getting knocked out of the playoffs. Let me finish today. Oh, and on top of all of that, looks like Matty Hagman, who was our best player for this series, probably picked up a little bit of an injury. Hip pointer, he's out for 5 days. And let's take a look at the standings first. Yeah, it looks like there's only two series still going. Chicago might upset the Rangers, and Minnesota. Calgary stole one off Minnesota, but other than that, it's been, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 6 sweeps in 8 series, and the Canucks go down 3-0. Great. Just gonna take a quick look at our playoff stats to see if anybody did anything. Oh, that's a little bug. For some reason, it's showing the goalie with 11 points. That's not right. I have to make a little note. I don't know what's gone wrong there. But yeah, Hagman 4 goals in 3 games. I can't really pick apart the performance of anybody on our team, and just because we were so badly overmatched there. And then you look at Montreal. Lafleur has 13 points in 3 games. And Napier and LaRouche, the other two guys in the first line, 10 points, 9 points. Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with goalie stats in the playoffs. I'll have to get that fixed. I think that might be showing. No, that's not a team line. That's weird. Huh. And Jurgen Pedersen, who
Mhm.
we traded away for low draft pick, winds up getting a couple of points against us. So that is done. We're getting close to the hour here, so I think I'm just gonna sim day by day through this, and we'll see how the playoffs turn out. Minnesota wins their series, and Hawks and Rangers are still tied. Yeah, that's just my scouting report. I can ignore that. And Rangers managed to avoid the upset, so what do we got? Second round, Flyers, Canadians, Stars, Islanders, Rangers, Bruins, and Sabres, Blues.
Do you think Montreal will win the cup eventually out of this?
I think we're going to get Montreal and probably Montreal and the Islanders in the final. That's my bet. And this would have actually been, was it 79, 80? Yeah, I think this would have been the first year of the Islanders dynasty. And they haven't got quite the same group of players. What am I trying to do here? Playoffs, that's what I want. They haven't got quite the same group of players as they had in real life, so I don't think they're quite as good. And Montreal's a little better, so that could be an interesting series. And I'll just keep going along day by day. I'm clicking there, but if you've been playing the game and you haven't noticed yet, spacebar will advance 1 day at a time. Clicking rapidly. It looks like the Islanders are going to go down to the Stars again. I think they lost in. Oh no, yeah, that's right. Minnesota upset them last season, knocked them out of the playoffs. So are they going to do it 2 years in a row? And the Flyers might take out the Canadians.
Wow.
And it looks like the Sabres won theirs. What happens in Game 7 here? And the Islanders and Canadians both win, so much for the upsets. Bruins are still in it, and Sabres are still in it. So defending champion Stars go down. And Bruins win the first game. Islanders even it.
Wow. Interesting how Philly had the lead in the series and they gave it up
Yeah,
in a game 7.
And Sabres wound up 3-2 over the Canadiens, so Montreal might not even make it to the final here. Nope, they even it up, so both semifinal series go to Game 7. This actually looks like it would have been a pretty fun playoff year to actually see for real. And the Bruins upset the Islanders, so Montreal Boston final. How much time we got left? Well, we're almost at the hour, so I'll have to punch through that fairly quickly, but.
Hmm.
Actually, I'm going to go to the Canadian schedule so we can see the game results. Montreal wins game 1 6-2. Boston wins game 2 7-2. And then 5-1. So Boston's up 2-1. Montreal ties it up. Montreal goes ahead, so this could be the end right here for Boston. Nope, Boston wins 4-3, so we're going to get a game 7. And I'm going to go a little bit over
Wow.
this, and I want to actually watch that one. I'll just set it to the
Yeah.
goal so we get through it quickly, but
So I think the was it the the before the Stanley Cup, both series went to a game 7, and then the
yeah,
Stanley
both
Cup is going to
semifinal
a game
series were
7.
game 7 league schedule. That's what I want. Okay, so Ed Stanowski, the Bruins picked him up at some point. That's a different starting goalie. I haven't really looked at the Bruins lineup at all this year. Quite a few changes in here. They got that Park and Bork as the starting defensive pair. That's pretty good. And Milbury and Brad McCrimmon, yeah, really deep defense. Forwards are a little older, and I think there's somebody. Feels like there's somebody missing from that group that was there historically. I can't remember offhand though. But I will continue on, and we'll just set that to the scoring summary.
Who do you like in the game 7?
I got to go with Montreal here. I mean, I'd be if it was. I got my Bobby Orr McFarland figurine up there behind me, so I should theoretically be rooting for Boston, but I'm thinking Montreal probably gets this. But looks like Wayne Cashman on a breakaway makes it 1-0 for Boston. And Montreal ties it up. Pierre Mondu. Oh, Boston's actually got Mark Kumpel in the lineup. I don't think he started playing for in the NHL till like the 85 or 86. Oh, might be a little earlier than that, but definitely not this season. And Montreal 9-1 in shots halfway through the first period. So they came out to play. Boston's picking it up now.
Oh man, Montreal couldn't score in the 5-on-3.
Nope. And although it looks like Boston's going to do something on the power play here. And Wayne Cashman, another goal. 2-1
Mm.
Bruins. So one of the holdovers from the old Orr and Esposito teams from the early 70s where they won a couple of cups. Trying to get a third one for himself here. And I think Boston might be about to get another one. Peter McNabb, yeah. So it's the rookie goalie for Montreal, kind of looking a little shaky here in the first. 3-1.
Wow, and they the angle of some of their goals. I don't know who scored it because 13 for
Yeah, that's the
for
shot sequence
Boston.
number. It's
Yeah.
one of those is a breakaway goal. And 3-1, 3-1 at the end of the first. Get through the
Mm.
second. And you can see, I mean, with it on scoring summary, it can go in. It can tear through a whole bunch of minutes at once, or if you get a few goals in a row, you can be watching for a little while here. So I think, oh wow, Boston's going to get another one here.
And
Yeah,
Boston's defense has done a good job of limiting close shots from the net.
yeah. I mean,
Montreal
it's
really
it's
hasn't.
a if there's one defense in the league right now that might be as good as Montreal's, it's Boston's. They've got two Hall of Famers, Bork and Park. Mike Milbury, who is pretty good, much better defenseman than he is coach or GM or analyst, and Brad McCrimmon. So they've got a really solid top four, and there we go. Montreal finally gets one, 4-2. little bit curious about their goalies. I think they would have had probably Rogie Vachon in real life this year, but they would have had to trade for him in the game. So they somehow wound up with Ed Stanowski in goal, who was, if memory serves, was actually playing for the Jets in real life this year.
Hmm.
And Anders Hawkinson makes it 5-2 Bruins. Montreal's just not in this one at all. Surprising. Halfway through the first, I mean, or halfway through the game, and they've given up 5 goals already. And although they're out shooting Boston, so I think part of the problem might be the goalie here.
Yeah, because the penalty minutes are identical,
Yeah,
16-16.
a little surprising that
Well,
they're calling that many power plays in a game 7 of the finals, but might have to do something about that in the code. But 5-2 end of the second, and unless Montreal comes up with a big miracle here, like say a 7 goal third period, they may not be getting back in this one. Still 5-2, 14 minutes left. Oh, there we go. Montreal's got something going here, and Bob Gainey makes it 5-3. They're trying a little bit of a comeback.
if there's any team that's capable of pulling off that kind of comeback, it
Yeah,
would be
with the
Montreal.
scoring Montreal's got. And 10 minutes left, though. They're down 5-3. They're going to have to come up with something in a real big hurry. And they're out shooting Boston. Montreal takes a penalty there. Down to 3 minutes and still down by 2. Don't think this is going to end well for them. And it doesn't. 5-3 Boston, game 7 of the finals.
Wow.
That's definitely an upset, and I'm not even sure where Boston finished. Oh, well, Boston's actually had a pretty good year. It looks like they were third overall, looks like. Yeah, third overall, first in their division, and second in the conference. Well, it's not like it was a bad team, but go back to the playoff tree. But yeah, wow, look at that. That would have been a fun playoff series to watch, playoff year to watch. 3 game 7s in the second round, 2 in the third round, and the final goes to game 7.
Yep.
Okay, so we better wind it up there because I think I'm already 5 minutes over. So, Sully, thanks again for coming out and sitting in for Adam for me today.
Yeah, no
And
problem. I had a good time, and I was gonna say Montreal. I think has to be kicking themselves. That game 7, they were 0 for 9.
yeah, I mean, after what they did to us, I don't have a whole lot of sympathy there. I probably should. Adam usually does the rundown of all of our websites and stuff. Again, let's see how much of this I can actually remember. Our website is outoftheparkdevelopments.com, and we're on the predictable places in Twitter and Twitch and YouTube. So should be easy enough to find us there. I'm not going to read out every single one of them. Sully, what do you need to plug? What have you got? You got your own YouTube channel and Twitch streams, so let the people know where they
Yeah.
can find you.
Everything's selling on tap. So for YouTube, it's YouTube // whichever one it is, selling on tap, and then Twitter is the same. And YouTube, I have my own franchise hockey manager series going, and so that's in full swing. So I just appreciate the opportunity to come on.
Oh, happy to have you. You got a Flyers series going, or a Flyers game going right now, don't you?
Yeah, we've it's been good. 3 Presidents trophies, but we've only managed to
Not
get
bad.
one Stanley Cup. So a little bit of retooling needs to happen. But
Okay, yes. If anybody's a Flyer fan, definitely want to check that out, or just wants to see a little bit more of the game in action, head over to Sully's YouTube channel or catch him on Twitch. And if you got any questions about the game, there's always the Out of the Park Developments forums or Twitter or any place else you can track us down. But I will wrap it up here for now, and we will see you back next week. I think Adam will be back, and we will be back to the modern version of the Jets, where we're doing somewhat better than the historical version, at least not, although we lost in the first round of the playoffs last year, too.